Sorry, I wasn't really there for the past a good time.
We all have busy periods for sure. So we
Yeah.
just the stream has just started. So welcome everybody to the next 10 meeting for June 26, 2024. We'll follow our standard approach of looking what was in the agenda. And before we kick that off, any announcements people would like to share? I'll paste the minutes in if you can all add yourself. That would be good. And the one thing that's not on the agenda, but probably we want to spend a little bit of time on are the survey results and like maybe, discuss a little bit what we see there and any next steps, that kind of thing. So, but we'll quickly go, maybe start by going through the issues that are tagged. So first one is corporate usage stories, number 279. This was one of the things that came from the advocacy deep dive of like, the idea was like maybe trying to find companies who would want to talk about their Node.js usage and have that published, say, once a month or something would make sense. I don't think we haven't really done anything more than that, but we had it on the agenda to talk about if there's any next steps, if that makes sense, or how we would move that forward if it made any sense.
Yeah. I think we can move forward.
Yeah, so that one, it would be like we'd almost need like a champion to kind of take it and run to sort of flesh out the idea a little bit more and then make a proposal. Maybe it's worth mentioning. I'm going to mention Kylie in the issue. And we could ask like if the foundation already does something along these lines, or I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, probably the foundation is more in contact with companies, and
Right.
like we could use them we can tell them, hey, if companies that are involved want to share user stories or not, we will be able to review them and publish them on the blog.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because really all we'd be saying is volunteer, write up your own story. There would be like a review just to make sure it's like, it's consistent with I don't know, the project values, that kind of stuff, and then they would be published and promoted, right?
Yep.
And so again, it could be really lightweight in terms of if a company wants to volunteer, then they can do it. And otherwise, like, it's not like we're asking the foundation to write it up or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just providing a venue. I think we could probably then write up like a more detailed proposal, kind of like we have for the ambassador program. We could write up something that says like, here's how it would work, more formally, right? Like, you basically submit it here, this is then what happens and so forth.
Yeah, maybe like part description of your company, what your company is doing, how you leverage the technology to do that, what are you doing, how it helps you, maybe a part. And I think one part that would be nice is why did you choose to use Node.js?
Right.
Against like, could be anything, could be, oh, we were already doing Node.js or JavaScript, we didn't want to move to something else, but I think we can find some specific part about that.
Yeah, if that, like, I think having an outline of like, this is kind of what we'd expect, but you can include different things or not would be good.
Yep.
Just as a, set the expectations, and then similarly we can say like, well, what happens is like, okay, you submit it here, who do we want to review it, right? Like, would it just be the Next 10 team? And then where does it get published? Or not? I guess where would we publish it? Or would we ask them to publish it somewhere and we're then going to promote it, right? That would almost be easier. Like the company publishes it on their own, and then we promote those versus publish it.
So it could be, yeah, I don't know. I guess it also depends from which kind of company and how easy for a company or for software engineer, let's say, people in tech to validate
Right.
with a communication team on how we did, like, because for example, for me, I can just write something saying, oh, we are using Node.js on that, that, and that. And if it's published on Node.js, it's technically me working in a company, but not associated technically the name of the company. The same way when you are speaking at a conference, you say you are working there, we are doing that. At the end, we are
Right.
hiring, and that's done. But for me, I need to negotiate internally to say, hey, we want to publish almost technical blog post or something where if you are not a tech company, it may be way harder for company.
Okay. So it'd be easier for you to publish something on the
Yeah.
node, like in some node space that's like Node.js usage at Sandolfi, right? And like
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
experience, something that would be easier as in a third party place, right? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Like both are great. Like I think it could be mixed between both model. Like if for specific company it's easier to, or they want and already have a process in place to say, oh, we can publish an article on our side about that, and then
Right.
we have a link on the Node.js or the OpenJS Foundation or something that retweet and share that again. Great. For some other company, it will be way harder to have that being published.
But
Right.
also, if you are an individual, you can also like promote, like create a content on your blog post, and then we can always share. Like, I mean, sharing is probably easier than hosting.
Right. Like I was thinking, if it's like a page on the website that is like, Node.js usage stories, right? It would be easy to have a list of links.
Yep.
Maybe it would be easy, right? And then in which case, versus like, hey, we're actually going to like host the blog post on the site, that would probably be more work. So
True,
it's
but
like the question is there a place where we could easily, like, if you just want to, I think what Marco's saying is it's probably easy to find a place to publish your blog post. Is that still true? I know Medium's not as good because they now have like the wall and
Yeah,
stuff.
paywall.
you still have dev too, I guess. But then it also raises a question: do we want to publish that on a Node.js part or the OpenJS Foundation?
That well, a little bit would depend on what the foundation staff want and
Yep.
can. Like the, if they're happy to have these things published, that might require more review and
Yeah.
discussion, right? I'm just thinking lightest weight is probably the best, right? Like. So it would be like, yeah, like as an individual, where would you publish? I guess you could just even put it on your own, like a GitHub page if you really didn't have anywhere else, or well, I don't think we need to decide that. I think that would be something that we could do, like identify, like documenting the actual program, right? So I'm just going to, like in the issue, let's maybe I'm going to create a document here. Docs. Actually, we already have a doc. The doc is the minute, so let's put it in there. So would it be something like, I think if you have the docs, you can see, feel free to type things in. Either publish blog post and submit, or submit candidate blog post. So then there'd be some sort of lightweight review to ensure consistency with the program. And then addition to page on website listing usage stories. And would we like, is it corporate usage stories or is it any usage story? Probably corporate usage stories, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess for specific use case, we could allow a personal user story that would be close to a corporate one. Like if
Right.
someone, like I'm thinking about people working or building their own company based on Node.js or to provide a new service or a new set, or maybe they don't yet have a company. It would be close to that, but I
Right.
think it
Yeah,
would be really specific use case, like 1/100 of others.
yeah, it's almost more like, we're not looking for a, hey, I use this as my hobby project.
Mm.
It's more like a business, corporate business.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, or something that would be large enough to not be associated as a side project for someone.
Yeah. So corporate slash business. Yeah. I don't know what, like it's organization, because like an organization.
I personally would not make like I would still stick with corporate, and if we receive like proposals that are not strictly corporate,
Yeah.
we can review them on a single basis. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, if it's you creating your startup, fine.
Yeah.
If it's you doing your hobby project, probably not.
Yeah.
So
No, yeah, no,
like,
I was thinking, for example, on my part, is if it's used for academic purpose, or someone, for example, building something and working on a thesis about something relying on Node.js or built on top of Node.js or stuff like that. Like, for example, one use case would be, crap, don't remember his name. The Swiss guy on Node.js, I don't remember his name. He's living like 200 kilometers away from me. That is working and they are building a lot of stuff around JavaScript and Node.js to do computing for molecule and science related stuff.
See, I think that's interesting, but it's probably a different thread,
Maybe a
right?
different one, yeah.
Because this one, I think the idea is like, hey, it's like to demonstrate the business side of things, right? And so I could still see like we wouldn't want to exclude nonprofits or different types of organizations that are using it. And like if what you just described turned into a business, so it's almost like a business slash, I don't know. But I think I'd be tempted to, as Marcus suggested, leave it as corporate and then see if there's like outliers that.
Okay. Good.
And then addition on page to website listing corporate usage stories, and then tweets or promotion on social media, right?
Yep.
I would say, is it like, how often would it's like limited to once a year per company?
I'm guessing we can start with one a year.
Okay.
I think we said on a issue that it's one per month, so it would be 12 company a year.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to say one a year.
Okay. So yeah, I'd agree. Like that's a reasonable, after a year, things change. And like,
yeah,
if we have tons, we might, use,
yeah, oh yeah.
And you can basically say preference is for companies that do not yet have a story, right?
Yep. Big question, because I guess someone will ask it. What do we do for company that's strictly different company but owned by the same? For example, Sanofi, we have the big Sanofi corporate, and 15 plus entity, or IBM and Red Hat, IBM and other stuff. So do we link that to the same corporate part, even if it's still technically different entity, different naming and everything? Do we?
I think I would actually just I added like limit once per year for a company brand.
Okay, yeah.
Because I don't, like, I know like Red Hat, we operate quite separately from IBM, and I
Yeah,
suspect
true.
that, those ones, and even like, so in terms of value to the
It's not the
project,
same story. Yeah.
it's not the same story, and it shows broader usage. And I don't think anybody's going to really like exploit that and say, hey, I've
Okay.
got 5 subsidiaries.
Yeah.
It'll be a great problem to have if we have too many,
Yeah.
right?
True.
So would there be anything else in terms of like, who reviews, I guess? Like we could say, limited review or preference lightweight review, could be next 10 foundation stuff.
Yeah, I think for now, for 12 article, I'm guessing we could review it ourselves, and if we are adopt about something, we can ask some other people from the community or from TSC or from other people. We are not
Yeah,
speaking of
other
having one article per
volunteers.
week. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I think asking for volunteers, right? Like we could have
Yeah,
next 10 like
Yeah.
review team or something like that, and people could volunteer for that. And I think it's like, it's not a detailed review. Like especially if we have it's published somewhere else,
yep,
then it's really just reading it to say, does this fit with the program? Yes.
yep.
Okay. No. Sorry. And even if we read it and there's like some typos or something, we might, but like I don't see it being an editing thing. It's more like,
Got you.
is this consistent with the program? Yes.
So,
And
oh, sorry, I was thinking also if it's published elsewhere, how do we guarantee that it's not being shut down or removed by said company?
I think like we have for the website, the link checker.
Okay. Oh, yeah,
Well,
true.
the link checker should catch broken links, and like,
Okay.
it basically, we can say, um, article removed if link breaks.
Yep.
And I don't know, like, I don't think we need to say like it's removed after a year or 2 years or anything, right? Like,
Oh, no, no.
if it's still a past story, it still makes sense. So
Yeah, oh, yeah. And then so the last question would be, where does people publish, let's say submit a blog or anything? Do we want them to send us a personal email, to open an issue or a PR in an external repo? Do we have another way?
right. So that is a good question. Submit candidate to where? So we could create a new repo to like take the submissions and review them,
Yeah,
or we could just have issues in the next 10. Depends
I,
really what we think makes the most sense.
I think a dedicated repo would make sense. Like
Okay.
it will create, let's say, people that submit something there who I'm guessing won't have the same noise as people in the next 10 directly. So it makes sense to just split that or to separate that into different stuff. That way we can also, if the repo will be public, if they submit the draft or everything when it's being reviewed and before being published, it means we indirectly also keep track of an article, even if it's removed by someone on their own website.
Yeah.
So
I
Right.
we could,
agree.
oh, we are not linking anymore to mycompany.com/Node.js article, and we move that to, oh, it's an internal link up to our own repository.
Yeah, so we publish the blog post and submit candidate as an issue in Node.js/corporate usage store usage stories, right? We can create a template.
Yep.
The other question we might get is like, is there anybody gonna want to be able to do that in private versus in public? I'm thinking public should be okay, but I just know that's sometimes one of the questions is like, hey, or is it going to reduce the submissions because it's public? But
So the main point for me is the end goal is for this article to be public. So I'm not seeing why people would not display, hey, I want
yeah,
to submit something, this is a draft. Like it makes, like, it's strange to me to say I don't want to display the draft, but I'm okay to display the full article on my website.
yeah. Yeah, no, true. Like, no, I was thinking, so that part totally agree. Like, and in many cases, it may already be published, right? Like, so it's published. They could publish it and just say, here's a link to my published article. But it would be like, you submit it, we say no. Is that somehow, going to be an issue? That would be, whereas if you say no in private, it's a little easier versus the public discussion. I mean, this isn't, this is a separate repo. It's not super visible, right? Like
Yeah, like
I don't know.
it's not like it does not shock me, but I'm guessing some company could be, oh, I don't want to have a no publicly, but like it's
Yeah,
really specific company and like everyone got a no on something, even the biggest company
right.
in the
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I guess it's fine to have it public.
yeah.
Okay. So,
And I'm guessing
and
if
I
some
think
people,
actually the interesting thing there is that we can also write it so that it's like those are the requests, and then each month we choose from the open requests. So we don't even really need to see like here's a no. It's just like we choose the ones which are
yep,
most appropriate, and those get published. And yours never
yep.
get, yeah, okay. Yeah, so that's the easiest. So that's why I think that's a good one, a good way to start, right? Okay, so I think for our meeting anyway, that's a good outline. And if anybody wants to take that and like blow it out into a more full proposal, um, that would be good as the next step. I think for me, I'm gonna start, first of all, we want to get the ambassador program off of the ground. So I'll spend my time on that versus this, but I think this is a good program to get going after. So if nobody does it by the time I get around to the ambassador program stuff's going, this I think is one that I would come back to. But if anybody, basically saying if anybody else wants to do it in the near term, that would be great. And it seems like it should be pretty lightweight, so I think that
Yeah, I think it's like the first one would be just to request a new repository, and then I can PR
yeah.
some stuff, at least a first default template, and we can review that next time during the next meeting.
I would
think
start by talking with Kylie and the foundation to see if they have already done something. They have communication channel in place. What do they think about it?
Yeah, I would agree. Like I think so. Let's say next steps would be next steps. Get some feedback from Kyle. I'm gonna say Kylie specifically. Actually, she's not gonna show up in the net mention, but anyway, with Kylie Foundation. So I think, yeah, reaching out to her to say like, okay, let's get some feedback. Are you already doing something similar? I know there was a program at one point, but possibly a little, it would have taken them a lot more effort because they would have to like meet with the people, potentially write it. This is more like, hey, write your story and it'll get published. So get some feedback from Kylie would be good. And then I would almost like PR in, outline of programs similar to ambassador program. Right? To see if there's any, either that or open a discussion item, like we want to get a little broader feedback from outside the next 10 team. So maybe it's like open discussion item in Node.js /collaborators. outlining concept. And I think that would include the why. Because I think that's something like sometimes when the PR has gone into core to say, hey, here's this new program, we sometimes get the well, why? And so spending a little bit more time maybe in that discussion that we could point to, saying, okay, yeah, here's the discussion, explain the why, might simplify that. And so I got those three things. Get some feedback from Kylie from the foundation, open the discussion item in Node.js Collaborators, outline the concept to get some more feedback, including the why, and then PR and outline for the program, similar to the ambassador program, would be like, based on assuming the feedback is reasonably good, then it would be like, okay, let's actually PR in the details here. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I will do that. I put that in the minutes and the issue. Okay, the next one was the funding deep dive. We basically deferred because we didn't get too many attendees. And still, I guess it's like we want to figure out, like, did we just have a bad time, or like, do we have nobody who's interested? So it'd be maybe we want to figure out who would be interested in coming next time. And then if there is a set, try and schedule based on their availability.
Yep.
Maybe it's like build a list of people who are
So
interested.
I actually was late to do the meeting,
Yeah.
but I noticed it was called off before I could join. And I think a bunch of other people said the same thing. Maybe I would say that the timing was not.
Yeah. I think it would be good because, like, we probably want like 10 people or something, right? So maybe we can build a list of names of people who would plan to show up if it fits their time. That would maybe be
I think when we planned we scheduled the time, we didn't do a survey to check who would have been able to join. So I think it's important to have like a Calendly, Doodle, whatever tool to see what time would people join and decide the time based on that, other than our.
Okay. I think a doodle's good because it also gives us an indicator of who's, like, if we only have 2 people fill out the doodle, then whereas if we get 10 people filling out the doodle, then we have a better feeling for how many people are interested. So I think that's a good idea. Do you want to create that doodle, or?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that.
What we probably want to do is choose like what times. Well, anyway, maybe you can choose the time, but we need to choose like a few, not all the time, right? Like it's it's like probably, yeah, I don't know. It's such a hard thing to get a time that's going to work for everybody. But anyway, yeah, I'll let you can figure out some times, but we might have a variety of times to see what ends up with the best group. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I think usually we want to stay in the like working group time zone, like from 3 to 6 p.m. Central Europe, so like late morning for your time zone.
Yeah, no, I think that, yeah, and then like I think what you said, like 3 is probably, I'm thinking for like East for Pacific time. That's, yeah, I'm usually good because I'm in the middle. Pacific is a couple hours, 3 hours before me or after me, and you're 5 hours before, so something in the middle of the Eastern time tends to be the most overlap. But we can see where people are. If everybody's in Europe, then we might as well cater more to that than vice versa, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I will write a reminder under the issue so that I will not forget to create the doodle and try to revamp the the deep dive.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think you're right. Probably like revamping the first. Can you edit the first post? I think you should,
Let
yeah,
me
you
check.
should probably be able to edit the first one so you can, yeah, make that more like, okay, here's what's happening now versus the history, which would be good. The next one, I know you were kind of looking at, Marco, in terms of one of our future deep dives, right? Building the sustainable and healthy collaborator base.
Yeah, so
And
we received some data from Ulysses last time. I didn't have time to go very deep into the data, but it's definitely very interesting. And yeah, I think we can let's see where we can start. Yeah, by choosing the questions that we want to ask. So
okay.
if you want, we can even start now to have like a bunch of topics.
Yeah,
I
no, that's a good
propose.
idea. I'm just looking at the and the other things on the agenda. This one I'm gonna close.
Yeah, maybe to see the data, we can wait for Ulysses. He can like show us the tool, share the screen, and explain us a bit what this data means.
Okay. But that we could just still start, like you said, on some of the questions. I'm just looking to see if there's other things that I don't see any other major things on the agenda that we need to really spend a lot of time. Like the next steps for the advocacy deep dive, we're already kind of working on those. So that's cover issues above. The corporate support and contribution. I think that one we've had a long time, so if we don't get to that, I'm okay. And this one's okay. So the two things I think we should spend the rest of our time is on like looking at the survey results, and we could then also dive into like generating some of the questions. So I don't know which of those two we'd want to prioritize this week.
Do we want to check the survey first, maybe?
Yeah, or that I think we can spend all of the time. So maybe we could spend like 5 minutes starting on the questions.
Okay, yep.
Time box it to that, and then we'll spend the other 15 minutes on the survey. It makes sense.
Good.
Marco, sound good to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so brainstorm on question. So first questions, like let's just start. If you have
I proposed three.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So the data that we like in the original issue, I proposed to gather data on the average lifespan and like working group involvement. So since we want this to be a survey, I think we can also gather this data from the survey itself.
Yep. Yeah. No. Okay. So I'm putting those three that you've got into. Oops. So basically, it would be how long have you been contributing to the project, right?
Yeah.
And then which working groups or teams are you in? Do you participate in? Teams do you participate in? And then, okay, so how many users keep contributing after their first commit?
I guess this is more general and probably not related to collaborator itself. So I think we can
if you're
remove this.
Yeah, if you're a collaborator.
So I think it makes sense to keep it, not to ask it for collaborator, but I would say it would be a good metric to know how many new collaborator or how many new people opened a PR that landed. So it's not everyone, but how many people that is their first PR every year to see if there is an increase or decrease of people wanting to contribute. Because if the number of collaborators, we are not growing as number of collaborators, or we have the same number of collaborators joining every year, but in the same time, we have 10 times more people opening PR. That's an issue, I guess. But if on the other hand, we have less new people opening a PR, but still get the same number of new people moving to being active for a long time, it's pretty good because it means there is less new people coming, but a lot more new people that come back again and again. So
I think
that's
though that's more data like
Oh,
that.
yes.
We can't really ask that on the. It's not a question to ask, but I agree the data would be quite interesting.
Yep.
Any other questions that come to people's mind? Like just, I might have a few that I can type in, and feel free to type in some as well if you have any. Like, what's makes you want to continue contributing? Like, I think what makes you want to contributing and what makes you less likely to continue contributing.
Do you have any blocker to contribute more?
Right.
Like, not sure it's the right way to ask that, but the main idea is it just time because we all have a finite amount of time, or is it other issue? Like, is your company against you contributing too much? Like, could be
I
less.
think we can probably refine the scope to have more yes or no questions. Like I would try to find things that usually block the contribution and ask, like, is your company supportive in the contribution that you do on Node.js? Yes or no? Is the environment in the project, like when you open a pull request, when you receive review, friendly enough? Yes or no? And then we had the box to, like, if we leave it open, it's much harder to gather like specific feedback, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it is. I think it's good to have the other, but I do agree that like the more we can have a list to choose from.
Yep.
It's just I think the other can be really interesting, but you're right. Like if you're not able, there's probably a list of reasons why we could generate that. And things like what makes you less likely and more likely, those two, I'm not really sure I could come up with a list.
I would like I'm sure I would ask if is your company supportive on your contribution.
Definitely for here, yeah, right.
Yeah.
My company does not support.
And do we want to have a differentiation between my company does not support and my company block me from contributing?
Okay. The only thing on that one is that this is going to be like this is collaborators.
True. Yep.
But something like this might be.
Yeah, it's way better that way. Yeah.
Then I will start asking like probably if the environment, like the reviews are like I feel like my ideas are not valued. I feel like code reviews are too strict, or if the decisional process is too slow. These are all things that I think have
Yeah, I
impacted
would
people
maybe
in the
put those
past.
under what makes you less likely, right?
Yes.
Slow, CI,
It's flaky. It's low.
yeah, a whole bunch of, yeah. I think that we can make some specific.
Yeah, like my work is not recognized. But then this question, what makes you less likely to continue contributing? And if you're not able to contribute as much, I think they are very similar questions.
Yeah, I think maybe we can explain them better, but like in my mind, it was kind of like one is as an individual, what's gonna make you choose to contribute less? So maybe what makes you more, or see, likely to choose to contribute?
Yeah.
Although I guess it still could be, one is kind of like, I'm not going to contribute because like this is dragging me down, right? And the other one is, I can't contribute as much as I like because of these other reasons. But I can still see how they can overlap a little bit too.
Mm-mm.
I think we're over our 5 minutes anyway, so maybe we should, but this was a good start.
Yeah.
Certainly
Can
async.
you add this in the
Yep,
in the issue?
doing that right now. Wrong question. Okay. So we can continue the brainstorm maybe next time and async if people, have time to go in and work on the questions a bit. But I think we can come up with some good questions in terms of what might give us some better insight.
I agree.
Okay, so in terms of the survey, no, next 10. I think it'd be worthwhile to just walk through and maybe start with, is this? No, okay, I could share it. Share. No, this one. We could just walk through at least this first part and see if there's like anything that, worth discussing / says, hey, as a next action, we should do something, right?
Yeah.
So where do you currently live? I think this actually was much more balanced than last year, which is good. I don't know anything stand out to people or.
Oh, I was going to ask, do we have a value per continent?
I don't think we have that added together.
We can compute it. And from the first one, just from the graph, last year our main surprise was North America was second to Europe, which seems like to be the case again. If I just checking just on the side, France, Germany, Italy, plus Ukraine and Spain,
Yeah,
I
I see
think
your point. Yeah.
it seems to be above, like quickly from the USA. I'm seeing Canada, small one,
Yep.
but the same size almost as China. But India is like second in size if we just take the country.
Yeah, true. And
Okay.
Germany being that big is interesting, yeah.
Yep. Also, yeah.
But no, you're right. Like I was thinking it was a little more balanced, but actually when you look at it, it may be still like the US is I don't know.
15%, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. Well, actually that one might actually be here.
Yep.
Use that. Oops, more pages.
12.4.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that is, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that, yeah, I don't know anything. I don't know if it like a next step, but like if you were interested in, Jean, if you had cycles to like build it to calculate the
Yeah, we try to, yeah. I will do
that would
that.
be
Yep.
interesting. Okay. And then how long have you been using Node? So an average of 5 and a bit years.
Okay.
It's actually fairly high. So like, I don't know if anything like, guess that seems, I don't, it's not like something jumps out to me like, hey, it would be interesting. Like it's, that would tend to say there's not a lot of new people, if you know what I mean. Like we don't have a whole bunch of ones unless we got a whole bunch of eights and
Yeah, but which is nice. This value is saying that most of the people, like at least medium value, their average number would be people started just 2018, 2019.
yeah,
So that's interesting to know.
yeah. What type of organization?
Oh, okay. So
We have a
not
lot of startups.
yes,
Yeah,
I was going to say that more people from startup answer than people from a big tech company.
yeah, yeah, it's definitely interesting. So the question is like, does that, yeah, does that when we're like trying to get stories and stuff, does that, what does that say?
So seems like having people like creating a startup would be nice for feedback, or at least like a story. Like they're representing what, 25, 23%,
Yep.
and more, let's say, traditional company will be 46. So just them both is 70%.
Yeah, like
Okay.
having some startup stories would definitely be interesting since that
Yep.
would reinforce where it's getting a fair amount of use. Um, Lots in information technology, which is kind of the generic.
Yeah. But yeah, financial is the first one on not IT company. So Node.js is really used
Yeah.
in financial institution, healthcare too.
Yeah, and communication services. I think the fact the other was so big is interesting too.
Yep.
We can look at the, I think we're going to run out of time, but we can look at the write-in answers next
Yep.
time, and that one will be interesting. Okay, looking at the results in terms of this is your role. So this is application developers were most of the people. We had a number of library authors.
Yep.
Just core maintainers, direct end users. So it's interesting. I mean, this is like, I guess what we would expect mostly application, although I wouldn't have been surprised to see more library and package authors, but
Yep. But maybe it could be great next year to split application developer front end and back end to see what would be the ratio between both.
yeah, no, I think that is, although I think we have this next question. I think
Oh,
I read that exact same thing and then I went to the next question, like, well, maybe we cover that in this.
Okay, yeah. You have API. Yeah, we have building static front-end application, so we can guess that.
Yeah, so we get about 10% there, and deploying front-end applications. So like it was about 30%
Yep.
is sort of more front-end related, but still lots of microservices, serverless, lots of sort of the back-end APIs, which is certainly an area we believe is where it's heavily
But
used.
we still have almost 4% on scripting part. Like above, like there is more people doing scripting and automation than people saying testing. And even CLI tool at 6.5, I'm surprised on this one.
That one I think we hear quite often that, you do some CLI tools and so.
Yep.
Definitely interesting. Operating system.
This is interesting, to be honest. I did not expect so many people on the Windows.
Yes.
I think Windows comes with a lot of companies, right? Like you get Windows. So I'm not surprised, but it is like at the conference, say at NodeConf when we did labs, it was definitely skewed more towards like everybody had Macs, a few people had Windows, and then
But if you check that, it matches also with the first question or the second question about in which kind of company are you working on? And people answering normal company, especially financial healthcare, most of the time it's Windows.
Yeah.
So based on the pool of people that answer, like it does not surprise me that much that Windows is the second one. But if we take that, if we remove the question about which kind of company are you working on, this would be surprising.
Yeah. Okay, I think we need to stop there, unfortunately, because I need at least a minute or two before the next meeting.
Yep.
But yeah, I think this is interesting and keep thinking about it. We can continue in the next meeting to sort of go through, and the goal in the end is to come up with like, are there any things that the data say, okay, we should try and start an initiative like X or Y or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I want to write a blog post about it. So
and yeah, definitely we should do that. Yeah,
would be great.
And if Marco, you want to write the blog, but there should be a blog post which is like, hey, we got all the results and here's what we thought, and so that's one concrete action. And then if there's any like, here's some next steps, it would be a good thing to cover that in that blog post as well. It's like, and here's the kind of things we think we should try and do.
Yep.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Okay, well, thanks for both of your time. And we'll see you in GitHub and next time.
Yep. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks.
See you in 2 minutes.
Yeah, see you in 2 minutes.